Yeah.
Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Like a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe?
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to everybody. We are here at Ananda, Portland. My name is Lorna. Welcome, all of you who are here with us, also those of you online. We're here with Nayaswami Sagar this morning to talk about how to tune in to Divine Mother. Let's all begin with a prayer, and why don't we stand up together? Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, and Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, thank you for your blessings. Divine Mother, be with us today. Come into our hearts and fill us with your love, that we might be channels in all circumstances to all people of thy light and love. We are thy children always. Om, peace. Amen. Please be seated. Nayaswami Sagar has been here to Portland before. Most of you may already know him, and we are really glad he's here. We had a lovely kirtan last night with him also, and tomorrow he will be speaking at our Sunday service, so please feel free to come back and join us for that, and tune in online. Our Sunday services are also streamed to our YouTube channel. Sagar, I'm not going to try to tell you his entire history. He has served with Ananda for many years now, first in India, in Mumbai. He's now part of our online offerings that we have throughout the world. He talks to people all over the place who tune into our online classes and activities that we offer people through our worldwide work. And he took time out from that to come and spend time here in Portland with us. And we are looking forward to sharing this morning with him and with our Divine Mother. So please, Sagar, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
And I'll turn it over to our music group here because a few people, will probably take a couple more minutes to arrive. So why don't we just settle into the vibration of this time together? Divine Mother is better understood through feeling than through words. And so this Blue Lotus feet, we have these great souls here who lead us in an instrumental rendition, or perhaps they'll also sing. So, yeah.
It grows, 'tis the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. It grows, 'tis the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine mother, 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 my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine mother, 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 my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine mother, 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 my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Engrossed is the bee of my mind, on the blue lotus feet of my divine mother. Divine mother, my divine mother. Divine mother, my divine lotus feet of my divine mother, engrossed is the bee of my mind. On the blue lotus feet of my divine mother, divine mother, 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 my divine mother.
Thank you so much. So it's wonderful to be here, and perhaps I should stand because I can't see a few people, and a few people can't see me. And Divine Mother is the other way. We perhaps can't see her, but she can see us. But it's not like that with me. If you can't see me, I can't see you. So, direct line of sight. I thought rather than start by sharing a few words about Divine Mother, we can start with an experience which perhaps makes us realize that Divine Mother is much more than any of us thinks. You know, we attribute, because the definition of the way Divine Mother is taught is she's an aspect of God. And when that word "an aspect" comes in, it means a piece. You know, there's many facets and it's one facet. It doesn't cover everything. And so she covers certain aspects and something else covers other aspects. And that's not how the yogis use the word aspect, as we'll see. In Divine Mother's case, there's nothing that she doesn't cover. But there's one thing she covers, which is the true nature of spirit, which is the Father aspect. But within creation, she's everything. So I want to do with us, all of us, we'll do the Om song, which is a very nice song Yogananda wrote. I'll play it on the harmonium. And I have here a few, I think there is, I don't know if we printed the words to the, yeah, I think Melissa will have a second email, perhaps. Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Let me see if I sent it to her. Because sometimes I don't send it to her, and no, that's okay. I realize I didn't send it to her. So do you have the words to the Om song? Okay, well, and where will that be put up? On the screen? Perfect. Let me get the harmonium. Let me tell Melissa I didn't send her anything, because otherwise she'll get worried. you. When soon this soundless roar doth come, when drowseth matter's dreary drum, on shores of bliss so booming breaks, all earth, all heaven, all body shakes. The bumblebee now hums along, baby Om doth softly sing his song. From Krishna's flute the call is sweet, 'tis time the watery God to meet. Cords bound to flesh are broken all, vibrations burst and meteors fall. The hustling heart, the boasting breath, no more shall cause the yogi's death. The God of fire with fervor sings, Om, Om, his joyous harp now rings. Prana God with power sounds, the wondrous bells the soul resounds. All nature lies in darkness soft, the star divine is seen aloft. Subconscious dreams have gone to bed, 'tis then that one doth hear Om's tread. Oh, upward climb the living tree, hark to the cosmic symphony. From Om, the soundless roar from Om, the call of light or dark to roam. From Om, the music of the spheres, from Om, the mist of nature's tears. All things of earth and heaven declare, Om, Om, resounding everywhere. Om, the soundless roar doth come, when drowseth matter's dreary drum. On shores of bliss so booming breaks, all earth, all heaven, all body shakes. The bumblebee now hums along, baby Om doth softly sing his song. From Krishna's flute the call is sweet, 'tis time the watery God to meet. Cords bound to flesh are broken all, vibrations burst and meteors fall. The hustling heart, the boasting breath, no more shall cause the yogi's death. The God of fire with fervor sings, Om, Om, his joyous harp now rings. Prana God with power sounds, the wondrous bells the soul resounds. All nature lies in darkness soft, the star divine is seen aloft. Subconscious dreams have gone to bed, 'tis then that one doth hear Om's tread. Oh, upward climb the living tree, hark to the cosmic symphony. From Om, the soundless roar from Om, the call of light or dark to roam. From Om, the music of the spheres, from Om, the mist of nature's tears. All things of earth and heaven declare, Om, Om, resounding everywhere. music of the spheres, from Om, the mist of nature's tears, all things of earth and heaven declare, Om, Om, resounding everywhere. Om, 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 Amen, Amen, Amen. Just keep our eyes closed. And we'll do a short guided meditation based on this chant. Feeling first this vibration of Om encompassing all the universe, bringing it into manifestation, creating it, dissolving it, sustaining it, nurturing it, being completely responsible for this entire cosmic drama. Let's feel that power, the power that's needed to do this, flowing through this entire universe. And then feel that vast power flowing through your own spine without any diminution. In your brain, in your throat chakra, in your heart, in the lower three chakras, that same power flowing through your spine, into your body, into your consciousness, nurturing you, feeding you with life force and strength, connecting you with everybody else. And now feel that vast power also having the ability to talk with you, to give you consolation, to comfort you, to be your friend, to respond to your heartfelt prayers, to forgive you endlessly, and to raise you up again and again as often as you turn to that power. Feel that power has the ability to give you solutions, creative ideas, and also the power to help others. The more you and I realize that we are simply instruments for that power, the more that power can do through us. And again, as you feel yourself connected to this living reality, that's the power of this entire universe. But that's also your mother that you can approach. Let's feel for a moment the feeling of completion and strength, and absolute assurance that comes, helping us to stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. can gradually open our eyes. One of the things Master said, Yogananda said, that he's come to do is bring forth the best of the East with the best of the West. And it's primarily in the West that Divine Mother is shown as a symbol of kindness and mercy alone. But if you see any Indian depiction of Divine Mother, there's power. You don't see her without her sword. You don't see her without her sitting on her lion or tiger or whatever the vehicle is. And the reason I'm saying this is it's very different when you come from India and you see the Western depiction of Divine Mother, or when you go to India and see, you read all about Divine Mother as nice and warm and motherly, and you see what they are doing there with Divine Mother, with all the garland of skulls and a severed head and a lion. It says, wait a minute, that's my mother, something needs changing here. And what needs changing is breaking our limitation of what we think Divine Mother is. And this is something that's very important for us to realize, because I thought for what we are going through at this time with the elections, people are there on both sides of the aisle, but everybody goes through what they are going through as a result of this election. There's nobody in this world who's never been shaken by something that happens. And when we get shaken, it's either the jolts of life or it's Divine Mother trying to shake us awake. If you have children, you remember, or you were children, you remember being shaken out of sleep. And any shake that we get can be converted into an opportunity that Divine Mother maybe is trying to wake us up. And so here, what we are trying to do, I thought it would be nice to tune into not just the general form of Divine Mother that comes to our mind, because most people here, perhaps everybody, has been to Ananda classes, and they know mother aspect, father aspect, and friend aspect, and so on. And I must say, I wasn't sure how well that would fly. Portland's a progressive town, and if I list the mother and what mother's supposed to do, and list the father and what father's supposed to do, I don't think that would be a good idea. But the beautiful thing is, it's not supposed to be like that. These aspects, as we'll perhaps see, are far more fluid than we realize. And as Yogananda explained, the highest way to realize the mother aspect and the father aspect is God, the consciousness that we call God, condensed a portion of itself into creation. Just like we do. We are made in the image of God, and we do the same thing when we dream. And Yogananda would say this: if you want to start a proper study of the spiritual path, one of the first things to do is you analyze the state of sleep. He said sleep wasn't just given to us so we can relax and rejuvenate, but it gives us a hint of the inner workings of God's own nature. And there are two main lessons one can draw from analyzing the state of sleep, and both are exceptionally important on this path of Kriya Yoga especially. The first one we'll talk about just a bit. The second one perhaps not as much, because that's tied into the technique of Kriya Yoga itself. But we'll see, because Kriya Yoga is a part of what Divine Mother has given us to unite us with her consciousness. But coming back, the first thing we realize is, as Yogananda used to say, in sleep, your consciousness, a portion of your consciousness condenses into scenarios. You have people, you have pets, you have life, you have death. Some people might have had dreams of how the election turned out, and based on the dream were happy or unhappy in that particular dream, and then you wake up and the same thing is playing out, or something exactly opposite is playing out. But when you are dreaming, as Yogananda said, the dream is real to you. You feel it as your reality. You don't know it's just a dream. It's only when you wake up that you realize that was just a dream. Now, just as in our dream, a portion of our consciousness condenses into forms, So in this dream of God, Yogananda has a wonderful poem in Whispers of Eternity called Dreams of God. We are all dreams of God. It has to be understood right. It's not an idle dream which changes every day, but we are condensations of divine consciousness. All of this creation manifested because a portion of the divine consciousness condensed into this creation. And the portion of the consciousness that stayed aloof from this creation, that's the Father aspect. This is where the Holy Trinity in Christian tradition comes in. And everything else is Divine Mother. The Mother aspect is creation herself, this vibration of Om that manifested all of creation, that is Divine Mother. And when we realize that, then we realize that perhaps there are, even for long-time devotees, aspects or versions or powers or blessings of the Divine Mother aspect that perhaps we haven't yet thought of, and perhaps we could tune into. So, because many people here have been to Ananda classes so many times, I thought in the first half, we'll tune into those things. And in the second part, which can be more heart-centric, we'll have songs and we'll have, the ability to open our heart, which is very important. We'll tune into the Divine Mother aspect as is generally talked about. So here's a question. And people can just tell the answers, one answer per person maybe. What are the 8 aspects of God? Light, sound, power, wisdom, joy, love, calmness, peace. Okay, let's see. Which of these is now some of these are the mother aspect, manifestations of the mother aspect. Others are manifestation of the father aspect of the God. So let's see what people think. Which one is the mother aspect and which one's the father aspect? Love, mother, joy, peace, calmness, power, wisdom. Did I leave any? Sound. Okay. And then, I think, which one is light? Yeah, so here's the interesting thing. These 8 aspects are manifestations of the Om vibration. As soon as you can say something in words, light, joy, sound, it does not exist in the father aspect. Father aspect is consciousness without form. So all these 8 aspects actually are the aspects of Divine Mother. And that's why you go in India and you see they have these 9 days of celebration of Divine Mother, where she's worshipped in different forms. And she brings out all these different attributes. Now, I haven't pulled out all the names and the corresponding attributes, but it's all these attributes that she starts manifesting. And this is very important to realize because especially when we think of certain aspects, power, wisdom, etc., we think of them as the father aspects of God. And in a way, like I said, these aspects were also created so we can feel closer to God. There's nobody who can tell you, this has to be the mother aspect, this has to be the father aspect. But as the yogic science explains it, all these are manifestations of the Om vibration. The vibration of Om, when experienced, manifests as sound, it manifests as light, it manifests as joy, it manifests as calmness, as peace, as power, and also as wisdom. And the Om song that we did right now was a very nice experience of that power aspect of the vibration. And the Om vibration is Divine Mother. The definition of Om is everything in the creation. The power that sustains all of creation and is creation itself. And that's another way to talk about Divine Mother. Now, in Christian tradition, Om is called Amen. Holy Ghost, right? Word. It's called the Word. The book of John calls it the Word. Word in Greek was logos, and it was feminine. When it was translated into English, it became word, and in the English language, word has, more of a masculine bent. And so it's thought of in that manner. But originally, the Holy Ghost, as translated from the original text, had a feminine aspect to it. It was a word with a female gender assigned to it, so to speak. So it's important to remember that all these 8 aspects that we are talking about are manifestations of Divine Mother. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and the reason I'm saying all this also is to sort of help us expand our perception of what we are talking about when Divine Mother we talk about. Is Yogananda called this whole creation God's enterprise. And I'm sure there's a few people here who have business tendencies of running enterprises. So running an enterprise takes a lot of skills. If you are the manager, the director, you are the last word, you have to be fair, you have to help others. But there's 2 kinds of enterprises: for profit and non-profit. Which kind of enterprise do you think this creation is, if Divine Mother is running an enterprise? This is an easy question. It's not for profit, it's a non-profit. Now, perhaps you know, I know some people here work for non-profits, especially non-profits that are dedicated to quote-unquote helping humanity. It requires a lot of wisdom to know what that means, because you don't want to provide people a crutch. You want to provide people strength. You want to help people where they are. You want to offer them help in a way that sounds dignified. You want to offer them help in a way so that they won't need any help in a little bit of time, if at all that is possible. And so, when we run a non-profit that's dedicated to the betterment of humanity, let's say, or certain aspects or certain segments, we realize that it's not just about giving. It's much more sensitive than that, right? We are trying to nurture, that's the word. And what nurturing means, more than me, people who are parents know, because you have children, and you realize very quickly that too much of strictness or too much of latitude, none of those work. It has to be a dance of all these things. And the governing force has to be love and wisdom. Both of those 2 things, and joy. You can't be tired all the time. And so it is with this enterprise called this creation. The purpose of it is unique, Very few enterprises have the goal of getting that person out of that enterprise forever. You all run businesses. It's basically to make people better within their time frame. But this enterprise of Divine Mother, the final goal is liberation. The state where we don't have to be a part of it at all, because we've learned all our lessons. But she's trying to teach us certain lessons. And as we realize that it's not always going to be a fairy story, as they say, where everything is nice and good, and there's flowers, and there's butterflies and angels. We don't necessarily learn that way. As when you were children, you wish that's how school was and everything was. But because we have things to learn, this is another thing to remember. For those who have pretty much learned the lessons they're supposed to learn, there are planets that are like that, where butterflies fly and angels shine, and there is no havoc, there is no turmoil. Autobiography of a yogi, there's a planet called Hiranyaloka that Sri Yukteswar belongs to, and that's exactly that. So Divine Mother has those options also, for those who are ready for those options. As Yogananda's guru, Sri Yukteswar, used to say, by the way, was Sri Yukteswar father aspect or mother aspect? We don't need an answer. Swami Kriyananda once, he was very strict. He was very strict on Yogananda. And one day, Swami Kriyananda thought he was saying the right thing to his guru, Yogananda, and said, "Sir, whenever I see a photo of Sri Yukteswar, I see love in his eyes." And Yogananda immediately said, "There was no love in those eyes." So it's in the new path. He was just, he loved his guru, as you know. But that wasn't the aspect that Sri Yukteswar was manifesting. And because he was sort of given to those tart one-liners that remind us of the purpose of life, but not in a pleasant manner. And so he would say, people who are too good for this planet are busy adorning some other. That's how he would put it, because sometimes we think, oh, this is not where I fit and I'm supposed to be in a better place. In a way, yes, but if we feel we are better than the world and we need to be somewhere else, Sri Yukteswar was saying, if that was true, Divine Mother has many, many other locations, as Jesus put it, in my Father's house. He talked about the Father aspect, but even when he was talking about the Father aspect, he was talking about Divine Mother. You read the Bible and you realize you can't pray to the Father aspect, which is aloof from creation, because as soon as he responds, you're talking to the Mother aspect. But people would not have understood in that society. They didn't understand the Father aspect. He got crucified. But they certainly would not have understood the Mother aspect or the beloved aspect and so on. So even when he was praying or talking about God as Father, he was talking about Divine Mother. And he was saying, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. That's one of the lines there. So we have to realize that this world, though it's so real to us, and there's a lot of suffering here, we get hypnotized by that which we see, and we think that's the nature of creation. That's not so. If you're in a country where there's bomb blasts every day, or when I was in India, I must tell you a fun story. The first place I visited after India pretty much was Adelaide, and this was in Australia. And I was less than 20 years old at that time as a student. I went there for a summer and landed in the airport. And as soon as I exited the airport, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was no person on the street. Adelaide, Australia has a very small population. And I really panicked. Where are the people? Because in India, wherever you look, you see at least 1,000 people. Otherwise, it's not India. If there's fewer than 1,000 people in your eyesight, we have a big population. But we get hypnotized. And then you realize you travel to many other countries, this is the norm. You see that streets are not always congested with people. You can see the pavement bricks and all and so on and so forth. But it's the same here. We are going through a certain phase and we have to be responsible. We have to realize that we have to act and we have to do what we can to make it better. But there are other realities. I say this also to people who work a lot in social service. Because people work with people who are traumatized, and over time, that becomes your reality. You think it's all a grim world because you see people who are suffering, but there's also a lot of joy. And so for most people, social service is better done as a part-time job, unless you can take it. Not because there isn't need, but you do need 1 or 2 days where you are with people who are joyful, you are taking hikes, you are within yourself so that the battery is recharged. And then you can go and share light rather than feel bogged down yourself and then try to help others. So coming back, Divine Mother's play is massive. There's a lot of purpose. All the great saints who have reached the state of self-realization say that there is a purpose. And they also say purpose can be nefarious or good. It's not enough that this creation has a purpose, but it's a good purpose. The underlying force of all this creation is love. You remember the Christian Bible, for some reason, as we start moving towards December, my mind starts focusing on Jesus, and as it says there, and God saw that the word was good when the creation was manifested. And when he's talking about word, he's talking about the Divine Mother aspect, all of his creation. And he realized that, okay, this is going to head in the right direction. There will be speed bumps and some quite severe speed bumps, but the trajectory is the right one. What I thought we should do is understanding that Divine Mother is so much more than just the aspect that loves us, that we come to for comfort, which is very important also, but she's all power itself. There's 2 ways to tune into the Divine Mother aspect of God. One is we pray to Divine Mother. That's becoming a divine child. We pray to our mother and we receive the response, the consolation that we seek. And that we'll do a little bit in the second half. What's the other way to do it? There's one other way to realize what it means to be like Divine Mother. To take on her role. The channel is blessed by what flows through it. This is what Yogananda used to say. And one of the most powerful ways to tune into Divine Mother is to be like her or to be her instrument. And so I have here some handouts which I'm going to, and just one handout for now, that I'm going to share. And this is, I'll tell you what this is. This is, Swami Kriyananda wrote a series of lessons called Lessons in Self-Realization in the last year or two of his life. And these were supposed to be correspondence lessons. He talked about different aspects of the spiritual path. He talked about Hongsa, he talked about Yamas, Niyamas, the 8 aspects of God, the chakras, the whole spiritual path. And then, as he was talking about the 8 aspects of God, he wrote lessons on each of those. And I've chosen the particular lesson here on wisdom. Now, as I said, it's not something you expect to talk about in something on the Divine Mother. But when I read this for the first time, and I've read this many times after, this is one of my favorite excerpts on wisdom from Swami Kriyananda, I realized anew that wisdom is of the heart. Knowledge is of the mind. Wisdom is of the heart. And so I'm going to share this, and you'll see that Swami Kriyananda lists many criteria for true wisdom. And at the very start, as we'll see, and we'll probably dissect this a little bit together, and perhaps we'll have a little bit of time afterwards where you can take 5 or 10 minutes to see which particular aspect resonates with you and maybe share a little bit. So I'm not the only one talking, okay? And so let me share a few of these on this side. And you can take one and pass one. And I think I have a few more which I'll start from the back. So we'll wait until everybody has this. And in a way, this, for me, is the meat of today's class. Because when I was reading this, I felt very much empowered, sort of, by the mother aspect of God. So, Geeta, maybe you can read the first 2 paragraphs for us. Okay. How are we doing with the mic? Do we have, or I can give my earpiece also.
We can get one of the lapels.
Okay, why don't you come up here and read, and somebody else can come up. And there's no pressure on somebody to come up, so if you are very shy, that's okay.
Read without glasses. Here we go. When Jesus Christ said, "Be ye wise as serpents," he didn't mean that snakes are wise. He was referring to the serpent power, the Kundalini. And he associated true wisdom with Kundalini awakening. There are other types of wisdom. There is worldly wisdom, for example, which is usually cynical and weighs a person's actions against his, probably, egotistic intentions. There is stock market wisdom, which seeks personal advantage in every outward move. And there is the wisdom of worldly experience, which convinces a person that everyone is only interested in what he can get for himself. Okay. The kind of wisdom I'm speaking of here is that which attracts inner peace, tolerance of others' views, a kindly disposition toward everyone, and an ability to see others from their point of view rather than from one's own.
So, the reason I thought this was very interesting to me, and As Swamiji does, he condenses many things into 3 paragraphs. Now, the easiest part of this to all agree on is that snakes are not wise, which if you don't agree on that, we can talk later. But then he talks about Christ saying, be ye wise as serpents. He talks about Kundalini awakening, worldly wisdom, and then the kind of wisdom he's talking about. Why don't we start with that? He says the kind of wisdom I'm speaking of here is that which attracts inner peace, tolerance of others' views, a kindly disposition toward everyone, and an ability to see others from their point of view rather than from one's own. And then he ties this to the wisdom that Jesus was talking about when he said, be ye wise as serpents. And he ties that to the serpent power or the Kundalini. And he says this true wisdom is associated with Kundalini awakening. This is fascinating to me because, one of the things Yogananda said he came to do was break down both misconceptions in the yogic path and also misconceptions that have come up in Christianity between what Jesus said 2,000 years ago and what people have made of it now. In the yogic path, Kundalini is thought of as very masculine. You gain powers, you gain self-control, you gain this and that. But we all know that Kundalini is Divine Mother. It's the power of Divine Mother that we are releasing back out of creation. When we are raising our energy up the spine, we are freeing ourselves to merge back eventually with that portion of the divine consciousness that's beyond all of creation, which is the Father aspect. And so it's very interesting that these qualities of wisdom that Swamiji writes are tied into Divine Mother very clearly. And if we can read, and that's what we'll do, we'll go over some of the other things that he talks about, and you'll see it's very well balanced. And we'll see how we can make these our own as a way of tuning into Divine Mother. When we do anything that's written on this particular piece of paper, we are tuning into the Divine Mother aspect of God. That's what I want to see us do. Cindy, you can be our next person, the first quality. Okay.
Just going to get rid of a tripping hazard for everybody. Hopefully. Okay. We have already discussed acceptance. Acceptance is the first attitude to develop for achieving this kind of wisdom. Wisdom is that attitude which sees the world as simply revolving around oneself, but never touching one inwardly, as he is in himself. Keep going?
No, just one is good. And the reason, again, I thought it would be nice to think about how many things Swamiji puts here. I continue to be surprised at how Swamiji, based on how Yogananda taught, he takes two exactly opposite seeming things and brings them together as if they are one and the same thing. Because you'd think acceptance means accepting everything. But remember, he's saying seeing the world as simply revolving around oneself, but never touching one inwardly as he is in himself. How is that acceptance? Would you ever tell somebody acceptance is this? It's a particular kind of acceptance. As we tune into Divine Mother, Yogananda used to say, when he saw Anandmayi Ma, she had this paradoxical isolation of omnipresence. The dearest of one's friends, she made one feel, yet there was an aura of remoteness around her. I think that's pretty much the line that's there in Autobiography of a Yogi. And Swamiji used to say she used to walk like a general, very, very strong and powerful. And so this is the kind of acceptance, I think, if we want to tune into the kind of wisdom, as Swamiji says here, the Divine Mother aspect of God is wise. It has power. And this particular kind of acceptance where we see the world as simply revolving around oneself. What we accept is this world will revolve, but we can't be touched by it. And he comes to other things where we relate to other human beings. But this is the first step. As Swamiji also said, acceptance is the first attitude to develop for achieving this kind of wisdom. And I'm only tuning into that word, first attitude, right now as I'm standing here. And what Swami is saying is, if we want to learn to be accepting the way Divine Mother is, without being shaken by the crash of waking worlds. Because there is an acceptance that makes us shake. Every time somebody does something that we don't like, I shook. I shook. I got nervous. I lost sleep. I did, I need, as I did when the elections was happening, I probably had more ice cream than I should have. But I had decided I will have more ice cream no matter who's winning. That was just a pretext. I wasn't nervous or agitated. I just said, this is a good reason to have ice cream. So anyway, I am an Indian citizen. I can't vote, which is fine by me. So I just decided I'm not going to get ruffled by this. I'm on the good side, but I don't want to be ruffled. As Swamiji said, it's very deeply ingrained in many Indians that, because the physical level of living there is harder. There's many more people. There's traffic, you name it, it's there. But when I used to serve in India, I would see people very happy and cheerful. And it's just you realize more and more that when outer things go wrong, you have to be happy inside. And that's also the signature of people at Ananda. More and more you see that people are very calm and centered here. And so again, this kind of acceptance, if we want to tune into this world and all that it's happening as Divine Mother does with her wisdom, we have to realize that this is the first attitude, seeing the world as simply revolving around oneself, but never touching one inwardly as he is, or as he is in himself. So let's go to the second one. Who wants to read the second one? Vajra. Great. Yeah, and we'll have people come up.
The reason I chose to read this is because I thought it was very pertinent to me and other drivers. The wise person, therefore, never becomes angry. If things go against what he hoped or even desired would be, he simply adjusts to this new reality, accepting it as is, and deals with the situation as it is. He may feel deeply, but he never allows that feeling to be disturbed by the ripples, not to speak of the waves, of emotion.
What do you make of it? Did that inspire you to think of something? Since you are up here, might as well share.
I guess I was a little startled by the fact that he, let me see here, deals with the situation as it is. I mean, to me, deals means making the situation like you want it, which I don't think what he's talking about here.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just meaning navigates. Probably when he says deals, he means navigates. The world is like navigating a boat. You can't stop the storms. They come, they have a period, and then they move on. But we have to learn to navigate storms. But this part about never becoming angry, and as we see, we'll probably feel, if you are somebody who doesn't feel a little bit in disagreement with something Swamiji writes, you are exceptional. Because you're already at the state of inner freedom that he had. Yes.
So I have a question regarding this. I always adjust myself with any situation to make the situation really good. But the people around me thinks that I am, Viraj Vyas is so kind of a nice or so good person, and people take the advantage of that situation in that. And so how should I use this quality in my life to same time being a nice person, but same time I'm not driven by all those surroundings that they want me to put me down or anyway, whatever their agenda is.
Yeah.
Because this place is very different than what we are talking about and what yoga is. And I know everything, it's so good, but how do I practice and same time I stay who I am, stay safe and in control of myself, not like, that's my
Yeah.
right now problem.
Yeah, this is an excellent question, which I should probably repeat just so the online audience, because as the lady says, Swami talks about simply adjusting to this new reality and accepting as it is. And how does that translate when you're around people who are not as fair-minded as you would wish them to be, and by the definition of this person being accepting, it means, okay, we'll just impose our will more and more on this person and knock them out of shape, so to speak. And, I think everybody, how do I put it? Well, one thing is, to actually tune into Divine Mother, you have to tune into all these aspects. Because, as I said, very soon Swami is going to say something exactly opposite. So hold your breath, where he'll say, stand your ground. I'm sure it's coming. I don't remember, but I'm sure it's coming. Because this is where we learn balance, Now, unshaken doesn't mean, how do I put it? You come back to your center very quickly. This is what yogis learn, but we might wobble a little bit. So with your situation, perhaps it's a mix of doing this and also finding inner strength. As Yogananda used to say, don't be a doormat. But you can choose to not be a doormat with anger. Or you can choose to not be a doormat because you're not supposed to be a doormat. And there's an impersonal principle that it's not right to be a doormat. And there is an anger saying, I am not going to be a doormat. And then what that creates is it distorts. As Swami says, the reason to not be angry is it creates ripples or waves of emotion which eventually hurt us. And so there is a fine line between getting angry, between subjugation, very suppression of anger, or transmutation. And this is where, if you really want to work on these things, it's nice to work with somebody whose wisdom you trust and who knows your situation personally. Because everybody's situation is different. Sometimes there are things we should change, perhaps. Because sometimes some of these situations we land in are of our own making. And I'm not doing victim blaming here. That's why I said sometimes. And we changing some of our attitudes makes people change their perspective about us. But sometimes we need to stand our ground or get out of that situation. And then it's so intricate that the person, you have to know that person before you say, okay, do this or don't do this. Because, the people you're talking about might have their side. If they were here and you were not here, they might be sharing their aspect, which I have no idea about. So anyway, does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
For me, the whole crux says never becomes angry versus experiences anger.
Yeah.
So when I become an emotion, there's no wisdom there. I'm just taken away,
Yeah.
Versus meditation has given me the place to experience it without being drugged down the road.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, that's actually a very nice difference between becoming angry and experiencing anger, but not allowing that to be your definition, even for a little bit of time. And we do have that choice. I think experiencing anger is not something we have control over. It flares up. But then choosing to become angry is, we have much more control. We can say, I don't want to go there, okay, or let me just give in to it. So that's a very nice distinction that you shared. Hey, you guys know, that's the beauty of sharing with Ananda. Everybody is wise, everybody knows these teachings far better than they realize and puts this into practice. So anyway, that much about never becoming angry and adjusting to this new reality, accepting as it is and dealing with the situation as it is. And accepting, again, doesn't mean you make it your own. Accepting means you have to go to the previous paragraph and what Swami talked about, what acceptance really means. So all of these things, we are only going to scratch the surface today, I myself included. And the more I try to make these things really my own and try to see what was Swami trying to say, what was Yogananda trying to say. He wasn't heartless, he wasn't ruthless, but he was talking about a particular way of being still, that vast consciousness of Divine Mother. She does the same thing. She's not running to change election results or stop wars or stop climate change and manifesting in the skies, whatever it is. There's half the people that believe Divine Mother should do plan A, and there's probably half the people that believe Divine Mother should do plan B. And this is where the fun thing happens, When Ananda started its first center, first it started at Ananda village, where I live right now, and in 1969. 10 years later, 10 years later, Swami finally said, we can't become ingrown. We have to go out. People are in the cities. We need to go create centers there. So it sent two wonderful souls, Haridas and Vijay, their names were, and said, why don't you start the first community or first center of Ananda? And Yogananda, in his days, he would call his churches of all religions. So they wanted to start a church of all religions. But they probably had the money to just rent a garage. So they called it Garage of All Religions. They had delightful sense of humor. But then, they started realizing they had each had their own ideas of what to do. Finally, they came to Swami and said, sir, we realize there are two Divine Mother's wills here, because he wants to do Divine Mother's will and he tunes in, and I want to do Divine Mother's will and I tune in. And Divine Mother's telling us different things, sometimes diametrically opposite. So anyway, this is just fun. We have to make these teachings our own. If you practice anything Swamiji has written here, and you find it's creating disharmony, come back and try to see if you have understood it right. Because sometimes we misunderstand it, really misunderstand it, even great souls. And then we feel we are following the teachings and it's leading us on this path which doesn't make sense. So the third one is, maybe we can club the third and the fourth one together. Lorna was going to read the next two, okay?
The wise person is never cynical, but he accepts without prejudice whatever is. The wise man or woman is essentially youthful. He is not a psychological antique, insisting that as things have been, so they should always be. He can bend with the moment and accept every valid new idea without prior prejudice. It's hard to do.
There we go. Yeah, it is hard to do. It is hard to do. The wise person is never cynical, for he accepts without prejudice whatever is. Now, this I don't think requires a lot of, I don't need to, let's say, explain why this is true. Does anybody believe they should be cynical? I don't think so. We all know that that word has a negative connotation, because cynical means you just accept that this world, the sum total of the energy of the people and this world and of human beings is downward. That's what we say when we are being cynical. We are not just being cynical about ourselves, which would be bad enough. I can never be good. That's cynical too. But when we are generally cynical, we are putting everybody in that basket, that the sum total of humanity can't be good. And we don't want to go there because it completely inhibits progress. We have to hope or aspire to a higher truth, a higher possibility, if we ever have the hope of getting there. So never be cynical. It's very, very important. And this is why I was saying, sometimes if you are in a field where you deal with a lot of traumatized people, it's important to be with people who are cheerful and full of light also, because otherwise you just see, oh, this person was mistreated, that person was mistreated, life, people are so cruel and evil, and that's suddenly you realize that's how you see this world. And it's not like that. There is an aspect of this creation where those things are true, but there are also many wholesome people, kind people, generous people who are wanting to make this world a better place. And the next one is very nice. The wise man or woman is essentially youthful and is not a psychological antique, insisting that as things have been, so they should always be. He can bend with the moment and accept every valid new idea without prior prejudice. So bending with the moment can mean two opposite things. One is you have no moral compass. I bend with the moment, but that's why he completes that sentence by saying he can bend with the moment and accept every valid new idea without prior prejudice. So we only bend with the moment if it's a valid idea, and if not bending, being unbending, would mean that we are not tuning into a higher reality when we should. So this is where, I think polarization happens. The definition of polarization is unbending. because polarization means there's a strong energy flow in a set direction and it's not going to change. And if we can all tune into these things in small ways and big ways, there's very few people, there are a few I assume, but who have 100% right ideas. The Democrats don't have 100% right ideas or 100% wrong ideas, and the Republicans probably don't have 100% wrong ideas. Probably there's 0.001% or the other way. I'm having fun here. Please don't misunderstand me. But the understanding has to be that there are certain ideas that we at least should be open to and listen to and see where common ground can be found. And of course, where principles are at stake, as Yogananda talked about Sri Yukteswar, he said he met the Vedic definition of a saint, softer than flower where kindness is concerned and stronger than thunder where principles are at stake. When Anand Mahima was told, what will you do if something happens and these people do this? She simply said, let them try. That's all she said, let them try and see. So, and of course, nothing else happened to her after that. But being essentially youthful, this is why it's nice to do new things. Yogananda would say, ever newness, the joy aspect of God or of Divine Mother is ever new. It's not a repetition of things that have always been done. Even the yuga cycles, every time they manifest again, for those of you who have tuned into the yugas, they are in a different way probably, because there's no cars that you find buried 6,000 years ago. So probably the way the technology manifested in previous Dwapara yugas was different, is my guess. But of course, Swamiji used to say when he went to India, people would give him all these crazy kinds of reasoning to show why India was super advanced in the ancient days. So somebody went to Swami Kriyananda and said, have you found anywhere in India as they excavate, have you found any wires? And Swami says, I've never heard of anybody finding wires when they dug deep into India. That proves in ancient days we had wireless technology. And Swamiji, our own Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, you just have to be delighted at these things. He said we had plastic surgery in the past times because that's how Ganesha's head, his elephant's head, and human body. He said it. He really said it. So you just wonder what's happening here, and then you just let it go. Don't get roiled up. But essential youthfulness, this is why taking up hobbies, learning new things, as Swami used to say, keep doing new things or keep doing the same things in new ways. And this is very, very important. Even today, the doctors are talking about this and aging, that as we age, we have to make an extra effort to do new things. So they're saying it in a different way. But we are talking about it not just from the physical point of view that we want our brains to remember things for a longer time, but it's a quality of Divine Mother herself. She is ever youthful. Her age, she's ageless, from the start of creation, so to speak. But ever newness is a part of her attribute. And if we want to tune into the Divine Mother aspect of God, there can be so many nice ways. A garden, changing the arrangements in your home, learning a new hobby. I started learning a little bit of guitar just for fun, taking up an exercise and getting good at it and enjoying the process. So anyway, this is something we should all try to do. The next one is a nice one. Who wants to read about humor? And now we have a lapel mic, I think, or whatever that mic is.
Oh, I was thinking if someone else asks a question.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yes, Patrick, please. And you can read the next two together.
Okay. The wise person has a good but kindly sense of humor. He never gazes proudly and rigidly at life, as if from the top of a mountain. He smiles easily. In fact, he is, again, like what Jesus said in admonishing his disciples to be childlike. The wise person laughs with others, but never uproariously in a spirit of good fellowship, for his enjoyment is within himself.
Thank you. So this is very important. A good but kindly sense of humor, and he never gazes proudly and rigidly at life as if from the top of a mountain top. And he smiles easily. That's very nice. Not just smiles, but smiles easily. Now, sometimes, we might not be able to smile, but our general tendency has to be of a smiling temperament, which, again, this is why Swami could have chosen so many names for the organization he founded. He chose Ananda. Which means joy, and that joy manifests in genuine smiles with other people. So this is something I think, again, Ananda, people come, they know how to smile. Yogananda would say, if you see somebody who's sad, smile, shoot him with the buckshot of a smile, he would say. I don't know if you like that analogy, but he would put it that way. And so, but we have to learn to spread cheer, and we have to be cheerful ourselves. And I have felt that joy and humor are contagious. You can draw on them by being around people who are joyful. And this is why being in the right environment is very, very important. And Swamiji used to read P.G. Wodehouse books. He would read it to the whole community. Yogananda himself would read Dagwood and was it Dagwood? I don't even want to say what the other word was, but anyway, it was one of the comics that was famous during his times. And one of his disciples, Peggy Dietz, she records in one of her books that he gave a class once on right diet and health and how you should eat right. And after that class, she went to his sitting room, and he was on his rocking chair. His most advanced disciple, James Lynn, Rajarshi Janakananda, had given him a rocking chair so that he could rock himself into samadhi. That was the note he had, you rock yourself into samadhi. So anyway, he was sitting there, he was reading a comic, he had a box of candy on his armrest, and he was just popping one and just laughing, and popping another one and just laughing. And he was telling Peggy Dietz probably, that you have to be balanced. Yes, eat healthy, but don't make religion of food and of health. And he had these subtle ways in which he would share these deeper teachings with his students. Peggy Dietz was an interesting one. For most people, it takes effort to go out of the body, because they're locked in the body. But her case was she would have all these out-of-body experiences that she had no control over, and she came to Yogananda to be trained how to be in the body. Very interesting. And so she could be, as somebody of that disposition, if you have that karma, you are not very grounded always, because your energy awareness is of the other world, not of this world. And so she was, Yogananda said to her, you be my driver. Imagine somebody is not grounded, you ask that person to be your driver. And he would keep asking her to drive faster, drive faster, drive faster. And many years later, when she was sharing this story, she put it to these disciples who were with Swamiji and said, Master loved driving fast. You always made me drive faster, drive faster, drive faster. And later, Swamiji was telling the same group of students of his, it wasn't that Master loved or disliked certain things. He wanted her to put her attention on her surroundings. And when you drive really fast, you can't just be thinking in your own mind. You have to be really there. And that's what he was trying to train her into. And so everything a great soul does has a not ulterior motive in the way we think of it, but has a motive which is not always easily visible. But anyway, it's good to have a good but kindly sense of humor, and I think this is one of the criteria we always look to for everybody at Ananda, and I think everybody has this. Even people, I must say, who have very difficult health situations, have cancer, have immobility, senility. Surendra led this community for many, many years, and now he's more in an advisory role. I knew him from Pune, which was in India. He was the spiritual director there with his then wife, Tushti. Some of you know her probably. And this was 2014, and a year or so into that service, she developed pancreatic cancer, very sudden. She was very fit, an Ananda yoga teacher, very graceful, and suddenly, you realize, and with that cancer, you often detect it far later. It's very hard to completely get out of it, so it turned out to be terminal. But she was in the hospital in Pune, and I used to go see her now and then. And I remember going to her place once, to her bed once. And she just sat up, she looked at me, she had this tube, you put a tube from the nose to the heart or whatever it is. And she just took out the other end and she just waved it at me and said, I'm like Ganapati now, Ganesha, with my trunk, just like an elephant's trunk. And then she put it back up. And, she must have taught many classes, all wonderful. But that's what I remember. That's what I remember, that here was somebody who knew that this was terminal, but could still do these things. And not as an affectation. It wasn't like, oh, Sagar's coming, let me think of something that will show how calm I am. That's really how she was. So we have to have, if we have good but kindly sense of humor, if we hope to have it when we have cancer, we have to practice now when we are hale and hearty, so to speak. We can't develop it suddenly when life's challenges come. If we want to have a good, kindly sense of humor when the world is shaking, we have to practice when life is relaxed and calm. And so practicing when it's easier is an important part of tuning into Divine Mother. So the last one is actually very important. Who wants to read something that is very important? Heather, since Patrick came up, maybe you.
The wise person is compassionate, but he expresses his compassion usefully and without the waves of emotion. He does not, in other words, leap into a pool to save a drowning person. He does not, that is, show his compassion by drowning with the sinking man. If he is a strong swimmer, he may leap into the water to save the other person. Otherwise, he casts about for some means of saving him from the safety of dry land.
Yeah, and this is, I think, this is something that again comes up very much so. This is how saints are compassionate. Their compassion is rooted in centeredness and calmness. And I have always remembered this part, that express compassion usefully. Whenever, because as Lorna was saying, I end up having to connect with many people all across the US and all across the world. And generally people come to the spiritual path when life's not going well. I have not yet had many people who say, I'm just so happy, everything is perfect, I want to get out of this creation. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's just when life becomes painful. Oh, somebody left me. Somebody did this, or I lost this, or it's not working. Then you start searching for, well, can there be a state of consciousness or a reality where I don't have to go through this pain again? And that is enter the science of yoga and meditation and the spiritual path. So most people who come are either in a difficult situation or working with people in a difficult situation. And this has been my mantra. If I share anything at all, if somebody's open, I say, Swamiji said something very important. Compassion, empathy, all of these things, channel them usefully. If you just sit there and cry, if you just throw a tantrum, you're not changing the situation, you're not helping anybody. All you are doing is crying and throwing a tantrum, which is fine. Sometimes that's a small part of the journey. But the sooner we can do something useful, I say, well, go and vote. Well, go and sign a petition. Well, go and plant some flowers. Go and help somebody in the neighborhood who needs help. So when we can channel our compassion, it doesn't have to be for the same reason that's agitating us. This is very important to realize. But when we see the need for a change, it's nice to find some avenue where we can channel our ability to make a change and get started there, because then at least we are making a change happen. We are changing consciousness in some way or the other. And we, as the saints are, Yogananda would often be asked, why doesn't God stop wars? Why? This was World War II, devastating time. And Yogananda's answer would be a very nice non-answer, which the yogis are very good at giving non-answers. Because true answers are a product of refinement of consciousness. They are not a well-written answer, but when our consciousness refines, we realize, oh, this is why it was. Somebody who's very, very angry, you can't really always tell them why they shouldn't be angry, but some situation comes and they grow. And then they realize of their own accord, well, I know I shouldn't be that angry. I should be in this manner, because they have grown and the consciousness has changed and a higher reality has somehow dawned of its own accord. And so Yogananda would sometimes say, he would say, when I was a young man, World War I was raging, and I knew all these great yogis, and I would go to them and ask the same question. And they would tell me, when you reach Divine Mother like we have, you'll do exactly what we are doing, which is hug Divine Mother close and then do your part in being a change in this world. This world is not your responsibility. There's 8 billion people. They all have to play out their parts. They all have something to learn or unlearn and experiences to go through. And this world is, Yogananda gave some nice words to describe this world and some not so nice words to describe this world. He would say this world is a school. Very nice. But then you also say this world is a hospital, and you'll only be let out once you have gotten rid of the disease of delusion, which you realize you are not spirit, which I don't like. I think let's stick to school and student, because that makes me feel better. So this world is a school, and we are all here as not just individuals. Divine Mother is not just working with individuals, but countries, states, the whole planet. And all of these, there's karmic conditions that apply to all these entities also. And we become a part of this multi-layered fabric. And it becomes very hard to unravel. Now, countries and planets are very hard to make free. I have never heard of any country that attained self-realization, or any planet that attained self-realization. Individuals can be made free. And so Divine Mother is very accessible for that individual who says, I want to do my part, but I want to become free. And that Divine Mother can grant. So the great yogis train us in that manner to tune into Divine Mother. We do our part. We be very important that we express our compassion. See, Swami said, express your compassion. That part is also important. It's not just, he's not saying just remain centered and don't do anything to help people who are suffering. He's saying express your compassion usefully. And if we can do those things, we become like a master. Yogananda was very interesting, I must say this. If you read some of the writings that he has, he didn't just talk about Kriya Yoga and meditation. He would write letters to senators. He would write letters defending India if needed. He would write letters defending America if needed. He would write letters recommending certain things that people should do when World War II was happening. He wrote letters saying, let's buy those government bonds, because the government had put out bonds, so people buy it and it brings in income to sustain the war. At that time, he put out even those missives in his mailing list saying, this is not the time for inaction. Our support is needed. So, but he knew the balance of what to do, when to do, how much to do it, and when not to do. I've always been impressed. He never went to India to try to liberate India. He loved India. As you know, the last words of his life were, when Ganges, woods, Himalayan caves, dream God, I'm hallowed. My body touched that sword. And then he passed away. But it simply was not his mission to be in India and liberate that country from the British. And he just left it to Divine Mother, saying, I am your instrument. What role you give me, I play, and I play it well. So we have to learn all these aspects. You have to be kind, you have to be centered. You feel, how can I be both? And you have to be helping others, but you are also to remain centered and calm within yourself. So this is where it becomes a wonderful experience in expansion of consciousness. So the next one I'll read, this is fun. The wise person thinks before he acts. Is not, however, like that philosopher my guru talked about whose wife sent him to buy a bottle of olive oil. He returned with an empty bottle. My wife, he announced, I've just made an important discovery. She demanded in return, where is the olive oil? I was just going to tell you, the man replied. My apperceptive perception told me that the oil was in the bottle. But then a doubt came. Was the oil in the bottle, or was the bottle in the oil? Where is the olive oil? His wife asked. So I upturned the bottle, he continued, and now I believe. At this point, his wife began beating him with a broom. No, now I don't believe. Now I know that said the man, finishing his declaration of that great discovery. The oil was in the bottle. And the true wise person doesn't indulge in foolish thoughts. He lives primarily from direct intuition. This is where we'll come later to meditation. To tune into Divine Mother, you have to commune with Om. And many of you have the Om technique of meditation. Many of you have Kriya Yoga. Tuning into Divine Mother is a consequence of upward flow of energy in the spine. And Yogananda didn't say things in this way. See, if he needed to, he could be very scientific. Some of his lectures, if you read, is very scientific. But he realized people can't take it. And so he would talk about, let's love Divine Mother, let's chant, and let's pray to her. And through all of that, reach this experience which we have to reach, where life force flows up in the spine. Communion with Divine Mother, as the very first line says here, associated true wisdom with Kundalini awakening, is the raising of energy in the spine. We can't be like these saints unless we do that. But these are all, it's an inner-outer path. These are all tools that will help us to retain that center and uplifted consciousness, so that when we start meditating, the attitude we take into meditation is very important. One of Yogananda's direct disciples, Turiyananda, used to say, our actions during the day make our meditations during the night. That's how he would put it. They are two sides of the same coin. And so we have to do the right action part also, where this is very, very nice. And then the last two, the wise person is like a flawless mirror, reflecting back to the world what he sees in it, without judgment or prejudice. I find this hard to do. I don't think I'm a flawless mirror. I try to work on my own flaws. But yeah, if somebody asks for suggestions and thoughts, I do my best to share something that's both beneficial to that person and makes sense to me and is hopefully going to be useful. The wise person also sympathizes with others without being influenced by their point of view, unless his own judgment supports it. Now this, I would love somebody to help me with this. I'm still working on this one. But some of you might have thoughts, and in which case I would love to hear that. Of course, the last two are very, very evident. The wise person is never solemn or self-important, and the wise person has the courage always to be dharmic. That is to say, he'll follow only the path of righteous action. Wisdom in a person causes him to accept even the greatest misfortune with an even mind. Wisdom is an aspect of God. When we live wisely, we attune ourselves to his consciousness. So I thought it's 11 a.m. We take a short break, 10 minutes break or so, and then come back. Then if people have some thoughts on this part, we can talk about it. Or then we can talk a little bit about the easier part, which is becoming a divine child. When this becomes too much, they say, can I just be a divine child? And that's also possible. So, thank you. Sure. Yeah, let's come up and they will do a couple of songs, which is great.
One song.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the Door of My Heart, then the Cindy will do another one. Yeah.
So Sagar asked it for the song Dark Eyes. And you're going to sing with me because we have the words ready up on the screen. Now we have it. Sorry I didn't have my finger picks on ahead of time. These things are the bane of the guitarist's existence if we're not ready. There we go. The song Dark Eyes. Oh, well, of course. You know, this comes from a song, or a poem. I believe it's in Whispers from Eternity. by Yogananda. I'm referring to the haunted lost eyes, the haunted eyes that he lost when his mother passed away, but then that turned into the love for the Divine Mother. And then Swami Kriyananda turned this into a song.
I've known them forever, they've haunted my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promise has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace. Dark eyes in the morning, dark eyes in the evening, dark eyes in the starlight at end of day. Dark eyes that speak silence, they whisper, come find me. You'll never know true love if you stay. Now I seek them in the wintertime, oh, I seek them in the spring. Those two dark eyes draw my heart away to where sun and moon sing. I laugh now in the summertime when ripples on the river play. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay. I laugh soaring with the meadowlarks, love has made my heart gay.
I thought there were more words.
I've known them forever, they've haunted my slumber and called to me out of the deeps of space. The love that they promise has helped me remember another time, a caring embrace. Another time, a caring embrace.
So Swamiji used to say that songs bypass the intellect and reach our heart, and so they convey far more than a well-written lecture or a book. And so that song Dark Eyes is perhaps the aspect of Divine Mother that we often draw on, because we don't just need power, we need comfort. We need solace. When we are going through difficult challenges, we don't just want somebody saying, okay, go back to the teachings and see what you're supposed to do when this happens. Just want somebody who will embrace you and say, I'm with you. I understand you are going through a difficult situation, and let's gradually take one step together, the next step together. And this also is the mother aspect of God. This poem that Yogananda wrote, as Cindy said, Yogananda's mother passed away when he was very young. And everything that happens to a great soul is a blessing that we can learn from. And when misfortune struck, he didn't get pessimistic. He didn't go reading books alone. But he, as he said, he stormed the gates of heaven, knocking on them until Divine Mother came into his consciousness with a response. And this poem, The Two Lost Eyes, from which this particular song is written, that was Divine Mother's response to him. It's very nice. This I leave as a homework. There's many instances in Yogananda's writing where he's captured Divine Mother's words to him. And I could create an handout probably with all those, but you can do it. I mean, maybe in a fun experiment, somebody takes this up and shares with all the group here. But there are many excerpts where Divine Mother spoke to Yogananda. And some he didn't share because that was perhaps personal for him. Others he shared, not just because he wanted to share, but because perhaps it's an evergreen lesson or an evergreen source of inspiration. So Divine Mother in this case told him, I took those eyes away because in those 2 eyes you forgot your true mother, which is me. I have sustained you as the mother through all human mothers. Now see me, and in my eyes you find all those mothers, not just your present lifetime, but all the mothers who have sustained you. They are now with you because you have found me. And Yogananda wrote in this poem, and as it says here, you'll never know true love if you stay. If when misfortune strikes, we learn how to knock on Divine Mother's door persistently, then we can from her own lips hear the deepest answers, and not just the answers, the consolation. This is why the Om is also called the Comforter. You know, it's amazing how one entity can be all power, all wisdom, all bliss, all love, all understanding, and can also be the comforter. And this is why Yogananda used to say that the divine romance, that's how he called the spiritual path. He said it encompasses every human experience that the soul yearns for and takes it to its highest altitude or takes it to its heights, and then beyond imagination of expectancy, as he put it in his poem Samadhi, beyond imagination of expectancy. No matter how great you thought that experience would be, most experiences are lesser. But here, no matter how awesome you think Samadhi will be or seeing Divine Mother face to face will be, that experience is far greater than that. So we can tune into what Yogananda wrote, and the thing that Yogananda said about knocking on Divine Mother's door until you receive a response, that is the only thing we are supposed to do. All the things we do on the path of yoga are supposed to show us how to single-heartedly, single-pointedly knock on Divine Mother's door until we get that response. And Yogananda wrote about this. This is one of the handouts that you will receive. In fact, I can share this. Just take one and pass it as you can. Here. Let me pass these maybe from here on. So the first one is from his book Essence of Self-Realization. Now, who hasn't had the opportunity to read yet and would like to? Okay, so we have a volunteer. Okay, Hanuman. So the first part that Hanuman can read is it's the quote from Master, and then Hanuman can also read the prayer, so we can all feel we are doing what Master asks us to do.
Okay. So, communion with Divine Mother. The Divine Mother is busy with her housework of creation. The baby devotee cries. She gives him a toy to play with. Riches, perhaps, or a name of fame, or if he cries again, she gives him another toy. But if the baby throws everything away and cries for her love alone, she picks him up at last and whispers to him lovingly, "If you really want only me and not my gifts, then come, be with me forever on my lap of infinity." Go on to the next one. I will be the naughty baby of Divine Mother. In the hall of life, decorated with mountains, stormy cataracts, and wild scenery. Excuse me. I've played long. Each time when I tired of play, I cried for thee. Thou dost drop down through the skylight of my heart's cravings, some new doll or fame, friends, or prosperity to quiet me. This time, Mother, I will play the naughty baby. I will sob unceasingly. No more shall the toys of earthly pleasures stop my cries, O Divine Mother. Thou must come soon, or I will waken all creation with my cries. I will make all thy sleeping children wake and join me in the chorus of wails. Forsake the busyness of the housework of thy creation. I demand attention. I demand thee. I no longer want these playthings.
So, isn't that so sweet? As I was saying in a recent talk, Master used every human phenomenon and converted that into an opportunity for self-realization. You know, you read Whispers from Eternity, it has the rocket of my love. It has the caravan of my prayers. It says the submarine of self-realization. My ship, be thou the pole star, be thou the captain of my chariot. He says, may I serve the intoxicating cocktail of thy love in the homes of the rich. You know, so, and he says, in prayer demand, there's one prayer where he says, prayer demand for fervor in love or in devotion. He says, teach me to love thee like the alcoholic loves alcohol, as the miser loves money, as the drowning person loves breath, and so on and so forth. And here, he's also incorporated a chorus of wails. I mean, I would never have thought that would be in a prayer. But you know, the beauty, I read Autobiography of a Yogi when I was 7. And I was telling somebody, the reason that was possible is that book starts with Yogananda being of that age. And when he writes that book, and when he writes about certain parts of his life, he takes his consciousness to be of that age. He's not an adult writing, this is how I was when I was a kid. The way the first few chapters are written are from the viewpoint of somebody of that age. It was very easy for me to tune into it, you know. Those fun stories where the Divine Mother aspect is right there. When a poor lady comes to Yogananda's home and the mother goes to the father saying, can I get 10 rupees so I can help this person? And the father's eyes pop out. 10 rupees. I mean, this is 1890s or whatever. That's, you know, probably $500 or whatever, $100,000 maybe, $500 or $1,000. 10 rupees. When I was a small boy, my dad died when I was very young. This is Yogananda's father speaking. And I applied. I had to walk few miles to go to the school on the diet of a small banana. That was my only food for the entire day. And I applied to a wealthy judge saying, can you give me some money? I mean, so I can complete my schooling. 1 rupee. I asked for 1 rupee a day. And the judge said, no, even 1 rupee is a lot. You shouldn't have it for free. And now you're asking me for 10 rupees? And the mother simply said, how bitterly you remember that experience. Do you want this woman to remember you with that same bitterness because you didn't give her the money she needs? And then he took out his wallet and said, you win. And the best line in the Autobiography of a Yogi, with the ancient gesture of vanquished husbands, he handed her a 10 rupee note. I just remember that so delightfully. You know, this is where, everywhere in that book you can ooze out joy and you can squeeze out bliss and pure joy, quite literally. And so, of course, a 7-year-old can understand that. You don't need to know a lot. You just need a little bit of English. And so that book is understandable at that level. And so when he writes these poems as a naughty baby, he's not an adult writing a prayer about what a naughty baby should do. You read these lines, and he becomes that naughty baby. And there is a lesson there, that when we pray to Divine Mother as her child, we have to mean it. That we have to become a divine child. And the more we learn to do that, as Yogananda used to say, then you realize that there's 2 ways to find God. In fact, there's only one way, because the first way, which I'll tell you, doesn't work. Which is you master all the yogic techniques, you master everything, you become perfect in every way, you play all the yamas and niyamas, and you live by them, and you never miss a meditation, and every thought and every action is in harmony with dharma, and you find God that way. I don't know of a single saint who's done that. And the only way you do it is you just raise your hand and you say, Mother, I'm doing my part. but I need help. You created, see, this delusion, Maya, was not created by us. We cannot get rid of it just by our own effort. But if we put in our little efforts every day, then suddenly one day we see that we trigger or activate a higher power, which then descends and pulls us out. That same place where you had your deep meditations, or not so deep meditations, those restless meditations, if you persevere, one day it's in that same place that you have a very deep experience, and not because you have changed so much, but because you're drawn that divine consciousness to help you. I sometimes tell this story from, I like animated movies, and some of you must have seen, all of you must have seen Lion King. How many have seen Lion King? And there is a scene there which, the first time I saw it, it was etched in my consciousness. And then I realized this is how the spiritual path really is. And the little cub, Simba, always trying to go beyond the boundaries set to him, runs with his playmate, Nala, into the den of the hyenas, knowingly or unknowingly. And then he gets cornered by the hyenas. And then the cub, he's seen his father, says, I know how to deal with hyenas. I've seen my father do it all the time. And so the scene, it's so beautifully shot, that shows the lion standing on that, the cub standing on that rock. And he roars with all the power he's got. And all that comes out is a yelp, because it's a cub. And the hyenas start laughing. And all that comes out again is a yelp. And the third time, he doesn't give up. The third time he roars. Suddenly, it's so beautifully shot because the camera is still on the cub. But instead of that yell, there's this resounding roar. And then the camera shoots to the side where the father has arrived. And as soon as he's arrived, the hyenas run away. And this is what happens. This is the journey of self-realization. We put in our little bit of efforts. And a little bit more efforts. And the hyenas of restlessness, imperfections, self-judgment, whatever it is, they laugh at us. You becoming self-realized, are you crazy? But you keep doing it. And someday, suddenly you realize that you sit to meditate and that divine power has been activated. All of the Indian mythological stories are like that. You keep praying, and suddenly there is this divine response because the law has been fulfilled. You've done your part. And then that same experience, that same meditation becomes a joy. This is also how Kriya Yoga works. Those of you who have Kriya Yoga, take heart. The Om technique and the Hong Sau technique and all the techniques, if you keep practicing it sincerely over the years, someday you will see all the things that are mentioned. I said that, Yogananda said that the state of sleep has two lessons. One we talked about, that this world is a condensation of consciousness, that dreams remind us of the way this world was created. The other is the science of Kriya Yoga, that life force can be disconnected from the five senses. Because when you sleep, if you are in deep sleep, somebody calls out your name, you don't hear that person because your life force has withdrawn from the sense of hearing. And sometimes you have to you touch somebody who's sleeping, they don't wake up, they don't feel the touch. You have to really shake them awake. Try tickling your partner's feet when they are sleeping. They won't wake up, probably. If they wake up, they'll be mad at you, but they probably won't wake up. But if they're awake and you try to tickle that person's feet, they'll immediately, say, what are you doing? So life force withdraws from the five senses partially in sleep. And the great science of yoga says what can be done in sleep should be done consciously also, should be doable consciously also. And so Kriya Yoga does that. Over time, it starts pulling the life force away from the five senses. They are disconnected. And Yogananda would give a very nice analogy. He would say, the ordinary person who tries to practice concentration is like a person who's in a room with a telephone in that room. And he's trying to meditate, but the phone might ring at any time and distract him. And he might say, well, with my willpower, I'll disregard the ringing of the telephone and I'll continue meditating. He might be successful, he might not be successful. But the Kriya Yogi says, I'm going to unplug the phone so that there is no possibility of ringing. And then you can one-pointedly focus on the object of your adoration, which is Divine Mother. So tuning into Divine Mother with the right scientific techniques, as Yogananda used to say, Kriya Yoga plus devotion work like mathematics. They can't fail. And this is the mathematics that bring us to Divine Mother. For some people, They have to work on the law part of it, learning the techniques right. For others, they have to work on the devotion part of it. And for most of us, we have to work on both of this. But one without the other is, generally speaking, not enough. It's very hard to get to scratch the surface of restlessness, which we have created. It's very hard to do that without proper techniques of meditation. So if we can practice these techniques, everybody can practice Hong So, everybody can practice the Om technique, everybody over time, most people can practice Kriya Yoga. See, these techniques are not physically intensely demanding. You don't have to contort yourself or do these breaths that require inordinate amount of time and breathe through this nostril, that nostril. It's easy to do, relatively speaking, because yoga can have some techniques which are very complicated. They are not like that, but they need magnetism. They have to be magnetized by regular practice. And when that magnetism is developed, it starts pulling the energy away from the senses. But that has to be coupled with devotion also. So communing with Divine Mother, again, we go back to that law. Kriya plus devotion works like mathematics. This is Divine Mother's mathematics. And out of her compassion, she's given us this mathematics. Remember, the gurus, they represent more Divine Mother than the father aspect because they come out of compassion to help us. And Lahiri Mahashaya was given Kriya Yoga by Babaji, and he said, only give these to those people who are worthy. And Lahiri Mahashaya smartly said, but if I never give these to them, they never will become worthy. Why don't I first give them this technique and then they can practice it and become more and more, reach that level that you want them to reach. And Babaji said, God has spoken through you. Let your wish be my wish. That's how he put it. And so these techniques of meditation are given to all of us. But the devotion, whether we use chanting, again, I'm going over this part of the sharing of communing with Divine Mother in a shorter span because we know this. We all have been at Ananda enough to know this is a heart-centric path. We have to open our hearts. So the chanting part, the right reading part, the helping each other part, the quiet prayers, the whispers from eternity that Yogananda gave here, all of them are not a sideshow. They are, in a way, the heart of it. But Kriya Yoga allows us to direct our energies inward, which is one reason that people can't feel strong devotion for a prolonged amount of time. When we have strong devotion that can be held for a prolonged amount of time, then it develops momentum, it develops intensity, and then it starts boring through that whatever glass or ice, whatever it is, to the water that is underneath. So I think that was something I wanted to share. And as Swami Kriyananda writes here, I want to read this third part to all of us. This came to Swamiji, message from Divine Mother to Swamiji. It came to him when he was having the 8-hour meditation. Generally he didn't speak. Maybe he chanted, but he had this 8-hour meditation. And there he said, Divine Mother wants to talk through me to all of you. And Anandi Cornell, who was there, she had the presence of mind to jot these lines down. And this is the only time Swami did it. And this is what Swamiji said. Divine Mother has asked me to convey these words to you. I am very pleased with all of you. Isn't that so motherly? The first thing the mother says is, I am very pleased with all of you. You don't have to do anything else so that I be pleased with you. I'm very pleased with all of you. I'm very pleased with what you are doing. But don't live in littleness, in petty things, little thoughts, little worries, little ambitions. Live for me, for my love. And in a way, what she's saying is, if you're not living for her, everything else qualifies as little thoughts, little things, little worries, little ambitions. It's not enough to just be doing good in this world. Live for me, live for my love. I am your mother through all eternity. Nothing else matters. You were born to commune with me. For no other reason were you born. Live in my consciousness, everything else is dust. I know all your thoughts. Your devotion is very pleasing to me. You are my children, and you are all very dear to me. Live more in me, live in my love. Yes, build a community, but in the sense of communion with me. My children, I am always with you. I am just behind your thoughts, just behind your feelings. I'm with you every second. Let no other thought come between me and thee. And again, there's so many things that you can read on this and tune into, but you might notice not a single sentence is in future tense. She does not say, I will always be with you. I will be just behind your thoughts, just behind your feelings. But she says, I am always with you. I am just behind your thoughts, just behind your feelings. I am with you every second. And so we have to improve our knowing. As Yogananda's definition of self-realization said, it's not about winning God's love or convincing him or getting him to change his attitude. You know, when we pray, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, we are not trying to remind God that, by the way, you are our Father and Mother, I hope you remember it. We are trying to remember it ourselves. This is our reality. And we act accordingly. As Yogananda said, if you know something, act accordingly. So we have to improve our knowing, not God's knowing. Now this story has a sequel. Because as I said, it was happening at Ananda village in the 1980s. And Swamiji was leading an 8-hour meditation. And one of the participants of the meditation was Nayaswami Jaya, who's the spiritual director for Ananda India. He was in his 20s at that time. And he got thinking. He's the Western mind thinks, which is great. Now, what did Swami mean when he said Divine Mother has spoken through him? Is he imagining it? Is he feeling some inspiration? Has Divine Mother actually spoken through him? What does it all mean? I don't know. And as he was saying that, he said he happened to look here, and suddenly he saw that spiritual eye as it is depicted here in a painting. Golden ring, blue background, white 5-pointed star. He had never seen it before. And he said it stayed there for 20 minutes. It stayed there for 20 minutes. And he had his answer. This is the beauty, as Yogananda used to say, many saints. When I was in Boston University, doing a master's, my advisor, who was Indian, used to say, I don't understand all these saints. Why don't they do social service? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why are they just sitting and meditating? Well, they are not. There are many saints who have done social service and born as kings, born as presidents, so on and so forth. In every aspect, their hand has been. But the true doing is the transference of consciousness. And there, Swami was not giving a talk. He was not going over the next plan for a new temple. He was simply immersed in Divine Mother. And the overflow of being in that grace was there for even those who were doubting. Remember, in Autobiography of a Yogi, the heart of a stone image, when Yogananda took his brother-in-law to the temple, the brother wasn't asking for help. He didn't want to be changed. But when Yogananda saw Divine Mother and said, won't you help me change this great soul? Because he saw that he was a great soul. And Divine Mother said, thy wish is granted. And that person changed. So it's very, very interesting what a big reach we all can have, the more we can meditate. And the more we can go very deep in these teachings. The greatest thing we can do on this spiritual path is to be a deep, deep devotee. With the depth, the greater our depth, the greater our perception, the more we can give others because we give our consciousness. Yogananda's most advanced disciple, Rajarshi, was once meditating in the Encinitas lawns. And Yogananda was walking there with a devotee. And he just said, let's walk quietly around here. You don't know how many blessings this work attracts when somebody goes as deep as that person. So this is just our life. We don't have to be deep today, but all our life, as that message from Divine Mother said, is the purpose of life. You were born to commune with me. Nothing else matters. For no other reason were you born. Live in my consciousness. Everything else is dust. And this is Divine Mother herself speaking. It's not through a filter of poetry or whatever it is. So the more we can remember this a few times every day, and a few times every month, and find the ways to really be that naughty baby and use all the tools, then we find more and more that Divine Mother is there with us in cancer, as cancer. How do I put it? Divine Mother is just not with us through a difficult challenge. She's also that difficult challenge. That's what we start realizing. There's nothing else. And you are one with that Divine Mother. And when you realize that, you are free. Whether you have outward prosperity, outward health, outward security. Isn't that the quote that Jyotish shared with many of the people through his blog? 1,000 masters saying 1,000 dictators, 1,000 wars can't take away from me what I feel within me. And so that is the state. When I was in Tucson, somebody asked me, if I practice all the yogic principles, will I be able to die peacefully in sleep? Without pain and suffering. And I said, I don't know if I can promise that. But I do know if you master these principles, it won't matter how you die. Because as Yogananda used to say, danger and I were born together, but I, the elder brother, more dangerous than danger, and all dangers flee from me. That's how he would put it. So that is the power of Divine Mother we are trying to tune into, and that is the power she wants to give us. We are not trying to convince somebody who's on the other side to come on our side. It's very important to remember, God is not on the other side, and we are trying to win him over. He wants this to happen. Divine Mother wants this to happen. And so we all together as this community, we can make it happen. Are there any questions thus far? Because I want us to end with that. Melissa can do a very nice, the Ananda Yoga in just a bit? Because Swamiji's Ananda Yoga has postures with affirmations. And those affirmations are a wonderful way to tune into Divine Mother. You can choose one. Now, I don't know if you can do the posture that's accompanying it, because some of those postures, I have no idea what they are. Royal Peacock or Royal Pigeon Pose. I don't even know what a royal pigeon pose is. But anyway, you'll find something which has an affirmation and which is doable. And you can tune into Divine Mother and the state of consciousness that you like in that way. But are there any questions or any thoughts that you want to share? We could go forever. And briefly, yes.
So here it says that live in my consciousness. Everything else is dust. How do you relate to this physical world? Like, how do we use this sentence to go towards her, more towards her, rather than we are so much in these all physical things and all these things happening on the planet?
Yeah, I think the answer for all of these things is one step at a time. And by taking one step, our next steps becomes clarified. So wherever you are, you probably won't be able to change from, I'm enmeshed in so many things, to suddenly all is dust. Doesn't happen that way. But within those challenging situations, finding those times during the day where you center yourself, where you remember this line from Divine Mother and act from it, can be a nice way to do it. But again, this is why one class never makes a saint. It's a lifetime of being with other seekers and refining our understanding. So coming to a place like Ananda Portland more often as we can, is very important, because just like water flowing continuously through a basin gradually makes the stones rounder. But it's not dipping it just for 5 minutes and then out, but it's continuously flowing. So by being in this flow of energy and magnetism, our consciousness changes, and suddenly we realize more and more how we can do these things. Yeah. Okay, so Melissa.
Should I be using the microphone, I guess?
I can give you this one. I'm done.
You done?
It's all yours.
Oh, okay, great. I'm going to be very careful. Okay, so we won't do royal pigeon pose, just so you know. All right, so let's everybody stand up, and we're going to do some stretches that help access that energy flow, to grab a hold of Divine Mother's energy, to feel that in our heart. We're going to start with our spine, and we're going to work on the heart chakra. So a lot of the affirmations, like Sagar was saying, are very uplifting, and they guide us, guide our thoughts, guide our energy to where we really should be. So we're going to begin by doing a doing some awake and ready just to get the body moving. This is something that Swami Kriyananda brought to us. So this is moving and affirming at the same time. So it's very powerful. So we begin by marching in place. I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready, I'm awake and ready. Okay, I believe you. Here we go. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. I am positive, energetic, enthusiastic. Thank you guys for turning to not whack your neighbor. And now we're going to take one hand and wrap the body and say, I am master of my body. I am master of myself. I am master of my body. I am master of myself. Now use an open palm and rub the body. Rejoice, my body cells. Rejoice. Rejoice, my body cells. Rejoice. All right, using both fists and wrapping the skull lightly, feeling shafts of light penetrating the brain. And let's affirm, be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Be glad, my brain, be wise and strong. Now using the fingertips, pressing into the scalp, pushing that across the skull, making little circles, breaking up the tension all around the head, affirming to every cell in our body, awake, my sleeping children, awake. Awake, my sleeping children, awake. All right, and now I think we're ready. Okay, so we're going to start with doing a forward bend. So just tune into your body, your back. If that doesn't work for you, just stand in Tadasana. That is standing mountain pose. Feet are hip width apart. And you can do this in a chair also. It's just a forward bend through the hips. So we're going to use the arms as we inhale, bringing the arms up overhead. Palms are facing each other. I'll just turn to the side for you. As we exhale, fold forward at the hips and pause here. Stretch out through the fingers, lengthening through the spine. Exhale. And we'll do one more time before we round the spine. As you inhale, reaching out. Exhale, rounding the spine, letting the head come down towards the knees. You can hold on to the back of the legs, or you can hold on to the toes if you want to. Just letting the upper body fold forward. This is opening up the lower back and all along the spine, letting that energy flow. Feeling the calmness and the soothing energy of Divine Mother. Taking a few more deep breaths here. And now as we come out, let's bring the hands to the top of the thighs, straightening out the spine as we bring hands now into Namaste. Inhale, pushing our arms up, stretching long. Exhale, circling the arms to the sides. Just let the heart relax and let the head clear out and just feel for that peaceful energy in the body. Okay, so when we do a forward bend, that opens us up. Then we're going to do a standing backward bend. You can do this in a chair as well. This is just arcing the spine. This is Muktasana, the freedom pose. So we're going to step back with our left foot and just turn to give a gentle bend in the right knee. So we want to tuck the tailbone under a little bit just to protect your back. And so if you have any heart issues, bring your hands to your heart. Otherwise, let's inhale, bring arms up overhead, stretching long, palms together. Exhale, relax the shoulders. Now inhale, lift through the heart, and then gently arc back. We're giving ourselves a little bit of an arc in the spine. This is allowing the energy to rise to the brain. You might feel your consciousness uplifted a little more easily. And so, I realized I don't think I said the affirmation before. Sorry, I was so busy talking. Anyway, I'll include it at the end here. But this one is concentrating on the heart. And let's affirm, I am free. I am free. And now let's inhale, gently straighten the spine, bringing left leg forward. Exhale, arms to the sides. Take a moment here. This is a two-sided pose. And now let's step back with the right foot, coming into the lunge with the left knee, pressing into the feet, tuck the tailbone under on the inhale. Let's circle arms up overhead or bringing hands to the heart. Exhale, relax the shoulders, and now lift through the heart. Exhale, gently arc the spine. Head is in line with the spine, so we don't let it hang back. So this energy is rising from the heart chakra into the throat and the head. So clearing the pathways. Let's concentrate at the spiritual eye as we affirm, I am free, I am free. 2 more deep breaths. And now let's inhale, gently straighten the upper body, bringing right leg forward and bringing arms down. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just tuning into the direction, the flow of energy. Hopefully you feel a rising sensation. And now we're going to do a sideways bend. Let's also, with eyes closed, let's just feel for the flow of both that forward bend and that backward bend. I'm trying to remember the affirmation. That's right. Nothing on earth can hold me. I am free. I am free. All right. And we're going to take that into a sideways bend with Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon pose. So bringing feet or knees together. Again, you can bring your hands to your heart for heart condition. Otherwise, bring arms up overhead as you inhale, circle arms up, interlock thumbs, stretching long. And on the exhale, arc over to the left, sliding hips to the right slightly. Relax your shoulders and lift your gaze. There's a lot of magnetism in the eyes. So we want to direct that energy upward. And with the yoga posture, it's bringing that energy inward as well. Breathing into the belly, feel that relaxation. Let's feel for the affirmation. Strength and courage fill my body cells. Just directing that to any area of the body that's in need. And now let's inhale, stretching up. As we exhale, circling arms to the side, stepping back into Tadasana. Just notice that general expansion across the chest. And now let's do the other side. So feet together one more time. On our inhalation, circling arms up overhead, interlock thumbs at the top. Exhale, arcing over to the right, sliding hips to the left. Dropping left shoulder, gaze upwards. Head is in line with the spine. And just feel every cell of the body opening up. Feeling that light. Opening that area around the heart, the sides of the heart, to feel more expansion. Affirming strength and courage fill my body cells. And now let's inhale, stretching up long. And on the exhale, bringing arms down, bringing your feet back to Tadasana. Feel the shoulders softened, arms relaxed at the sides. Feel that expansion around the heart, the front and back and sides. And now we're going to do some seated poses in the chair. So just go ahead and find your chair. Okay. So this one, oops, I'm not used to this. This one is Ardha Matsyendrasana, the half spinal twist. This is really fabulous for This is really to open the heart, and this is what we want to do for Divine Mother, so we can feel that energy. So we're going to rotate to the left. So sitting in a chair, let's bring the left hand behind us, crossing right hand over. As we inhale, let's push down through the left arm, lengthen up through the spine. Exhale, rotating to the left. Use your lower back first. And just remember not to twist in any areas that aren't wanting to move. So just listen to the body. As we inhale, lengthen up one more time. Exhale, leading with shoulders, lifting through the sternum, keeping that heart open. As we inhale, lengthen one more time. Exhale, bringing the chin near the shoulder. Keeping that upper body open, expansive. Gaze is uplifted. Just feel the energy of the heart radiating in all directions within. Letting go of any attachments, any desires, lightening the load. Feeling yourself free inside. 2 more deep breaths. You can rotate a little deeper along the spine if it's possible. Now let's inhale and lengthen up. Exhale, coming back to center. Let's take a few breaths here. We always want to rest in between each side. Gives us the opportunity to tap into what the prana is doing for us. What the pose is opening up within us. And now we'll move on to the right side, placing right hand behind you, crossing left hand over onto the opposite knee as you inhale, lift up. Exhale, rotating, breathe into the belly. Really feel that deep relaxation. As we inhale, lengthen up again. Exhale, leading with the heart. Soften the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen again. Exhale, bringing the chin near the shoulder. Gaze uplifted. Feeling that expansive energy, free of all worries. Seeing that energy radiating out in all directions. As we affirm, I radiate love and goodwill to soul friends everywhere. Two more deep breaths here. Now as we inhale, lengthening up, pushing down through that arm. On the exhale, slowly rotating back to center. That slow, conscious movement, it helps us feel that freedom of energy moving through us. Okay, and the last pose we'll do today is Garudasana, the eagle pose, twisted pose. So this one we'll just use the upper body for. So we're going to start by bending the right arm in front of us, left arm in front of us, 90 degrees. I'm mirroring you. And then we'll bring right arm underneath and bring palms together. If you can't do that, then just hold your arms across your chest. You don't want to overstretch. So as we inhale, let's lift up through the crown of the head. On your exhale, feel the shoulders melting down. Lift your gaze. And then feel the breath in the belly. Feel the breath moving smoothly and naturally. Now concentrate on the space between the shoulder blades. We're accessing the back door of the heart, freeing ourselves of worry and tension, replacing it with joy, love, wisdom. Feeling for all your peripheral energy withdrawn inward. As we affirm, at the center of life's storms, I stand serene. Now, as we inhale, releasing the arms, and just bringing them back to the lap, palms facing up. Gaze uplifted. And now moving on to the other side, so bending the right arm 90 degrees in front, swinging left arm underneath, bringing palms together or just cross arms in front of the chest. As we inhale, reaching up, lifting, lengthening. Exhale. Soften the shoulders. Bring the gaze to the point between the eyebrows. Tapping into the breath. You can watch the breath inside as it rises. Watch it rise. Watch it fall. Just noticing the rhythm of your own breath. Bring yourself deep within, feeling that safety and security and Divine Mother's light as we affirm, at the center of life's storms, I stand serene. Two more deep breaths. And now releasing the arms, the hands, and bringing them back to the lap. Pausing here for a moment. Feeling the ease of that, of the depth of the inner communion with Divine Mother. Om Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
It's not often that we leave the class feeling more energized than when we came in. Our bodies feel good, our hearts feel open. Let's all stand up together, and we'll close with healing prayers. So this is an opportunity to act as a channel, as really every moment is an opportunity. But when we do healing prayers, we really are very consciously trying to send and be an open vessel for Divine Mother into the world. You can visualize individuals or circumstances, situations. You can see the whole planet bathed in the light of Divine Mother, the love, the wisdom, the joy, the peace and calmness, the sound of Om, focusing at the point between the eyebrows as your broadcasting station, as Yogananda called it. And first, let's pray. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Thou art in these we are praying for. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. And then rubbing your hands together swiftly, feeling the warmth, feeling the energy. And lifting your hands, chanting Om 3 times. Om. 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 Pausing for a moment, feeling the energy in your heart, in your hands, at the spiritual eye, with total trust that Divine Mother is loving all her children everywhere. Om, peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming and joining us. Thank you, Sagar, for a beautiful, inspiring morning. Thank you very much. He will be speaking tomorrow during our Sunday service. We now have our fire and purification ceremony at 9 a.m. and with the main service being at 10, so we welcome all of you. Did all the handouts get passed out, Sagar? He also brought a list of affirmations. Those of you who may not know Ananda Yoga, all of the postures have affirmations, which are beautiful, done with the postures or without. They're lovely. So he created a handout with a lot of those on there just as a resource for you. Again, thank you so much for coming. This was live streamed to our Ananda Portland YouTube channel, so if you have a desire to watch the class again, it will be posted on the YouTube channel. Thank those of you who came to us online today too. Om.